Good morning, good evening, everyone. Today we have our student Kalyan with us, who recently matched in pediatrics, but the journey was not without challenges. So we wanted to sit down with him and understand what challenges he overcame. How did he build his profile for pediatrics for a successful match? So welcome, Kalyan.
Thank you, Mr. Pawan. Thanks a lot. Nice to meet you.
Thanks. So let's start with your overview of your journey. Introduce yourself, and then we'll talk in specifics.
Okay, I'm Dr. Kalyan Sridhara. I come from Andhra Pradesh in India, and I did my MBBS in Manipal University, Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore, and I graduated around 4 years ago. And you know that after graduation, I believe the toughest phase of my life has started. The toughest phase of my career has started after that. There are, of course, as you may all know, that there is this one of the toughest, most challenging exams that we have given in our entire lives, which is USMLE Step 1 and Step 2. I took quite a bit of time for that, time to give both the exams. I've also given my CS exam in the pre-corona era. And after that, I finally managed to apply after 4 years of vigorous studying and all that. I finally managed to apply here. And since my second year, almost since the time I entered the pediatric wards, I was always interested in pediatrics. I knew that that is a specialty I wanted to be in. Though there are other specialties I like, but pediatrics was I always dreamt of being a pediatrician. So since the very beginning, I made sure that whatever I did was in terms of pediatrics. Yeah.
So that, I think, is a very, very critical point, because a lot of applicants apply to multiple specialties. They find it hard to focus on one specialty. So in your case, you managed to focus on pediatrics. So tell our viewers on what things did you do, whether it was a job in India or USC, what all did you do in pediatrics to build a strong CV?
Yeah, in India, firstly, whenever I worked, whichever hospital I worked in, I made sure there is a pediatrician there, and there are a lot of pediatric cases in that particular hospital. I made sure that I had good exposure to pediatrics, and of course, this work experience, whenever I told in the interviews, they were very impressed by it, because very few applicants usually have good pediatric experience. I even told them I was able to do IV cannulation of pediatric patients. I was able to even to draw blood for them. That some program directors really found that very impressive. This is one place, this pediatric work experience is one place I truly connected with them. And on the top of that, of course, pediatrics is a place where relatively fewer number of people apply for pediatrics. So it was a little hard. I felt that this journey is a little lonely till I joined Sarthi, because I found very few pediatric applicants throughout the journey. So whenever I tried for USC and all that, I was the only rotating intern in almost all of my USC programs. I mean, whichever hospital I did, some other co student was rotating with me, but it felt quite lonely throughout the journey. And it was through so many emails, and one of the rotation I found through Sarthi, it's one of the excellent rotation. I used to see more than 30 pediatric patients in Detroit, and I learned a lot of pediatrics there. And after that, through emails and all that, I did a few in New York. I did for more than 4 months in pediatrics in New York, and that helped me fetch a few more interviews, especially from the region. Okay. And so, yeah.
So let's kind of summarize your challenges. So I think you started by saying the USMLE exams, they were quite challenging. And then, of course, finding the USCE, maybe even in India, finding that job. So summarize your challenges for us.
Yeah, firstly, I would say that one of my first challenges was with the exam, because especially because, while after I finished my graduation, I had to move to my home. I did not have very many friends there. And this one thing I've learned from this journey is any tough battle that we need to fight it along with our peers. It's very, very important that we don't take this challenge upon ourselves alone. It becomes very 10 times more tougher than what it is. So it took me some time. I tried for 1 year studying all by myself with very few friends around me, though it was my home, I had very few friends who were studying for the same thing there. So immediately I made sure that I moved to another city. I moved away from my home. I made sure that I met a group of friends who were doing the same thing. And that made my journey much easier. At least for me, the group studying worked, though we were not necessarily studying in the groups, but at least having our peers around us helped me overcome all the challenges that I had with giving the exams. Right. And I was able to give the exams pass the exams with satisfying scores. And after that, of course, USC, it's always challenging, especially because most of my USC is in the Corona era, and especially in pediatric hospitals, they're not allowing from foreign graduates to come and rotate with them. It was a bit difficult, but I had to send up my CV, I had to send up my work experience, and of course, Sarthi helped me in that case with one of the rotation, and there was a family friend who is a pediatrician who helped me a lot, in this journey. So overall, I tried my best to learn as much as possible with the experience. So it was mostly in the clinics and with very little inpatient rotations. I try to make the maximum out of it by learning the treatment and all that, by staying extra time during the USC. And of course, that paid a lot of dividend, especially in the interviews when they asked me about all the special cases that you've seen, and how do you find the American system. I was able to give very unique examples which I believe they were impressed by.
Yes, I remember all our discussions. So let me pick on a couple of things that you mentioned. One is the peer group and the importance of peer group in this journey. And while you spoke about the exam, talk to us about the peer group you found in Sarthi in terms of the Telegram group and other support. How was that helpful?
Yeah, it was, before I joined Sarthi relatively a little late, but I'm glad that I made the decision to do that. Because, one of the best things about Sarthi is the Telegram group. Obviously, there are so many people who are fighting the battle just like you are. And there are also people who have already fought the battle and won that. They are called panelists there, Dr. Tan, Dr. Patrick, and Dr. Daya, some of the panelists to name. They truly helped us out a lot with many of the questions. They answered many of the questions throughout the journey. Especially the ERAS application is very long and it's very confusing, and we need to know what points to put in our CV. For instance, what points to highlight and how to do it. And only because one thing that I'm always thankful to Dr. Daya's CV class, where he mentions where he put out what exactly to write in the CV and all that. That was the class where I got a very clear idea as to how I should write my CV, and I believe that that helped me a lot. He gave me so many tips. He showed me like what exactly I have to present in the CV. And on the top of that, of course, Telegram group, there are so many people. I, in fact, made new friends with Sarthi, especially in the pediatric. It's very hard to find co-pediatric applicants.
Correct.
But with Sarthi, I was even able to make friends with that. And they even, when the last day, just before the day before application, there was a very important IMG friendly program I missed. And it was only corrected because one of my co-applicants helped me out. She sent her list. These are the programs I'm applying to, and I sent her my list, and we were able to compare. And I missed one of the program. I applied that in the last moment. So I believe that being this group and people who have already have a rich experience in knowing every challenge that they faced, they have already helped so many applicants through the process. So I believe being in a peer group will make this very tough battle a little smoother, if I may say. So in that way, I believe that Sarthi is one place. It's a close-knit group of people who are always there to help you. It gave me a lot of confidence that I wouldn't have gotten if I did it alone.
Thank you. So now let's talk about, what, in your opinion, programs look for in your CV or in the interview. You spoke about very specific examples you were able to give, even if it was a clinic-based rotations, but from your job and others. So in your experience, what were these programs looking for when they interview you or when they see your CV? Because this is important for students to understand.
Yeah, firstly, obviously, pediatrics is one field where they are going to look for dedication towards a specialty, and they want to make sure that they're not applying it as a backup. So this is one field. Most of my rotations, like maybe barring one or two, were in pediatrics. So that way I was able to prove that I'm truly interested in pediatrics. And secondly, some of the questions were like, what did you learn from your patients? What did the little children teach you? Something new. I even got questions like that. And something else they are going to look for would be how personable and relatable you are. It's very important that that you could connect with your interviewer, because when many people tell that you can connect in the hobbies section or something like that, but strictly speaking, we are from a different country and they've grown up in a different background. I honestly found it very difficult to find a matching hobby that I could match with the program director, for instance. Right. So in this case, it was only because of my clinical experience and my work experience in India, they were able to relate with that a lot. They found me personable. I believe they found me personable because of that, rather than going with the hobbies or the interesting movies or interesting songs. Whenever I told them that these are the kind of cases I get in India, for instance, what are the cases I'm going to find in the hospital? That was one of the common questions that I asked in most of the interviews. Right. So we were able to discuss about the differences between how the Indian patients, the Indian kids present, and that there is more sick child presentations here and more preventive child presentation there. So overall, I found that it's being relatable, being personable is important in pediatrics. And it was also very important, I believe, across all the interviews in there. And one more thing, very important thing is it's important that you need to show, not just tell them. You cannot just tell them I'm a hardworking person. That doesn't mean anything to them. You need to be able to put it in words, give your own unique example that only you can come up with. You don't have to be, that example doesn't have to be very extreme or very special case or something like that. It's just a simple thing that is framed in your own words is going to sound unique. So that is exactly what I told. For instance, I worked in the COVID-19 wards. I had a lot of flurry of patients there. Whenever I told about that, how we shared the work, how we divided the work when there was a tsunami of patients that was coming in, many of them found it relatable, especially the busier programs. They found it, though it is pediatrics, though my experience in the medicine, it truly carried, they truly thought this experience could help us in the residency. And obviously, they're also looking to make sure that you get along well with your peers, with your fellow residents. And one thing, one of the pediatricians I met during USC told me was, see, they're not trying to eliminate you. They're not trying to say that, oh, let's not take this candidate. They're trying to look at the best qualities in you, and they don't want to lose a good resident, right? They don't want to lose a good candidate. So they are looking at the best candidate, best possibilities for you, and they're trying to take you into the program. You got to prove it to them. If you prove it to them, they're not going to lose. So the way to prove it is try to be relatable, try to be, more and more personable. And obviously for pediatrics, you need to have a very softer personality, a very soft exterior and a hard interior. That's what I always think about what pediatrics truly is. So overall, this was my interview experience. Yeah, this is what I believe they look for.
Yeah. No, this is very, very perceptive and very honest, I think, which will be very useful to other applicants. Now, if you were to summarize, right? So there are applicants going into the next match. If you were to summarize the top few things, 3, 5, that whether it's pediatrics or other specialties that these applicants should focus on, what would, other than the scores are what they are, but what would your recommendation be for the match? What should they focus on?
Yeah, one thing they can focus on is, firstly, they need to be updated with what is happening with the rest of the fellow applicants. That is very, very important. It's just sitting alone, and forums are not everything. There are Reddit forums and there are other things, but they don't necessarily give the up-to-date knowledge. So it's very important that throughout this journey, not just during the application, even before that, during your steps, it's very important that you be up to date with what is happening in this USMLE world, so as to put it. And second thing is, in the CV, you need to know a few tricks and trades as to how to put your best self forward. You have to maximally show that what you can do in the program and what they're going to be useful, and how the programs are going to find that particular quality of ours useful. So that is something that you need to highlight in your CV as to your work experiences, or as to that. You cannot just keep on saying in the CV, for instance, that I did this, I did that. That is not going to be useful. You need to put it in a much useful way where they believe that this is going to be helpful in the program, be it across any specialty. Obviously, and one more thing I want to tell is that pediatrics is not necessarily a backup specialty. You have to be in this only if you're truly interested in this field.
Correct.
I'm not telling this just because I'm in pediatrics, but I love that field so much. But it is because I've seen people who came into the field and hated it to the core only because as a backup they came into this. So if you're really a IM person, I believe that you need to find some other specialty if you want to apply as backup. Pediatrics is not that. So this is one field you have to truly love from every time to be in this field. And yeah, and secondly, that's one more part of the summary I can give that. And beyond that, there is also that interview preparation, which you have to do with, which you can do with maximally as many people as possible. You got to take a review from a few trusted people, maybe 4 or 5 of your friends. It's very important that you do group interviews. It's very important that you improve your communication skills, and you have the clarity as to what you're talking there. And the interview needs to be in a conversational style. It cannot be just a robotic way, where they ask a question and you immediately give a prepared answer and it sounds very obvious. So you got to make it as a conversation. You got to say it. If you can put it in your own words, not in someone else's words, it is going to answer will ultimately sound unique. You don't have to Google it. You don't have to learn some extra special words. You don't have to learn something way something special. It's just to try to put it in your own words. Tell that whatever you've seen, put it in your own, through your own eyes. Whatever you've seen, you can just tell that it will sound like a unique experience. I'm very sure that everybody, each and every applicant, has so many unique stories to share. It's just that they take someone else's story and try to present it as their own. So that becomes problematic. Or trying to tell very rehashed answers, over prepared answers, that is not really going to help much. So you need to build the basics. And obviously Sarthi built a lot of my interview basics, and 75% was Sarthi, and rest of the 25% I added my own unique flavor to it,
Of course.
which truly helped me. I believe that which truly helped me sound like a person, not like somebody who prepared for the interviews, who truly I was able to put around as a candidate as to who I am. So this is the summary of my entire application process.
Well, thank you very much, Kalyan. This was very, very useful. I think this gives a clearer picture to the applicants on what to focus on and how to overcome their challenges. Much appreciate your time, and good luck with your residency.